Hotep, how's everybody doing today? All right, hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. So it is Monday, October 21st, 2019, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. So everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page and invite your friends to tune in. I wanted to deal with this topic I dealt with back a couple weeks ago or so. I think it was October 11th, and I was in Oakland, California. But I had to broadcast off of my phone because the internet speed in the Airbnb was not as fast as the internet speed here in the office. So I wanted to deal with this topic. I saw an article from blackenterprise.com. And this article deals with 4.5 million African Americans could lose their jobs to automation. This deals with over the next 10 years. 4.5 million African Americans could lose their jobs to automation. All right. So this article came out October 10th, 2019. And it dealt with a study from McKinsey and Company. And the name of this study is called The Future of Work in Black America. The Future of Work in Black America. All right. So we're going to get into this and deal with what can we do to fight against this trend. Okay. What can we do to fight against this trend? African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. And let me share this information. And then also be sure to follow us here on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. Turn on the notifications so you know when we go live. And then also follow me on my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. And I'll also let you know today where I will be, because I'm speaking in Washington, D.C., October 25th and 26th on the Black Agenda Tour with Michi X. And I'm also speaking in Richmond, Virginia, Sunday, October 27th for the Pan-African Festival there in Richmond, Virginia. All right, so let's look at this article here. And let me post the information here on the thread of the broadcast. How's everybody doing? How you doing, Jimmy and Maggie, RM? How's everybody doing today? So when this article came out, I posted the same day it came out. I posted this on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and my personal page, Michael Imhotep. And I was traveling to Oakland, California. At the airport in Oakland, California, I saw a CVS kiosk or vending machine for CVS Pharmacy, and it's the first one I ever saw. Okay, and a lot of the products that you'll get from CVS, things like that you may forget when you travel, they had in this vending machine. There was no human interaction. It did not take cash, only took debit cards and credit cards. So when I saw that, I took a picture of it because it blew my mind. Let me show it here. I meant to have this here in the have this uploaded to the computer, but I didn't have a chance to do that. But here's a picture of it. Let me see if you all can see this here. Here's a picture of it here on my phone. Okay, this is at the airport in Oakland, California. All right. So I had to take a picture of this because I saw this the same day that this article came out from Black Enterprise magazine. And then when I was at when I was leaving the airport on, I guess it was October 13th, I guess it was. That's the date here. I saw when I was at the airport again, I saw this vending machine. Now this is for prevent in-flight ear discomfort. Okay, and they have all these different products here that you can purchase. This is another vending machine at the airport. Now at this portion of the airport, it was near the food court. Okay, they had 3 of these vending machines in a row selling different products. This is another one. Now this is for, I never saw this one before either. This is for benefit. I don't know. Maybe you all know what this is. They're selling they're selling cosmetics. Okay, but this is another one right here. This is at the airport in Oakland, California. They had 3 of these vending machines in a row. Okay. And then the third one, this is when I was leaving. The third one is for Best Buy. Okay. So we're all familiar with Best Buy. They sell electronics, things like this. So they have earbuds, headphones. I think they have some cell phone accessories in here, things like that, right? So I've seen this one for Best Buy at some different airports when I travel. But here in Oakland, California, they had 3 of these vending machines in a row. It was right near the food court. So after I got my food, I went to Panda Express because I'm a vegetarian, so it was hard for me to eat healthy on the road. So I said, look, after I got my food, I said, look, I want to go over here and take these pictures so I can show this to the people, okay? Because the future is here now, all right? The future is here now. Okay, so let's continue. Let's look at this article here from Black Enterprise. 4.5 million African Americans could lose their jobs to automation. All right, so job losses for African Americans could reach 4.5 million individuals in the next 10 years, according to a report from the consulting company McKinsey & Company. The report is called The Future of Work in Black America. The Future of Work in Black America. And this report details the challenges American workers in general will have in the coming decade due to automation in the workforce. African Americans will face 10% more job losses than the general population. All right, now there was an article from BusinessInsider.com, and this article from Business Insider is entitled, well, it's a long title, Artificial Intelligence is Slated to Disrupt 4.5 million jobs for African Americans. Okay, in this article from BusinessInsider.com, they interviewed the co-author of this report. His name is Jason Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. Jason Wright said, quote, there is an elevated risk to the African American workforce to modernization, automation, and the global shift that exists in this modern economy. Okay, there is an elevated risk to the African American workforce to modernization, automation, and the global shift that exists in this modern economy. Now, automation consists of artificial intelligence, AI, okay, artificial intelligence, software, robots that will handle the current low-wage, low-skill jobs in the near future. Okay, and what we see from this report is that African American men are going to be the hardest hit. Okay, so African Americans are expected to lose up to 4.5 million jobs over the next 10 years to automation, software programs, robotics, things like this. But African American men are expected to be the hardest hit. So businesses have been rolling out increased automation to achieve cost savings and efficiencies that are greater than the human workforce can achieve. Automation consists, once again, of artificial intelligence, software, and robots that will handle the current low wage, low skills in the near future. So when you go to CVS, when you go to actual CVS pharmacy store, we see the self-checkout in some of the stores, right? You go to a Walmart, you see some lanes that have self-checkout. You go to Sam's Club, you see this as well. And this is eliminating a lot of these low-skilled, low-wage jobs. Retail is something that's going to be heavily, really hit hard. We know that Amazon has killed a lot of retail jobs. We've seen a lot of retail outlets that have either had to downsize or file for bankruptcy because they cannot compete with an Amazon. And then we look at kiosks like this, like the ones I showed you. We look at kiosks in a airport, okay, which has a lot of traffic coming through on a daily basis, every day, all day. And then we know that McDonald's, okay, which is basically probably the largest restaurant franchise chain in the country. They have, last time I checked, they had a little over 14,000 restaurants. I think that was worldwide. But McDonald's recently acquired Apprent. I guess it's pronounced Apprenti or Apprent, A-P-P-R-E-N-T-E. And Apprent is an artificial intelligence company that focuses on speech to help automate the drive-through experience. Okay, so you go to the drive-through window, etc. McDonald's is looking at using this artificial intelligence company to improve the drive-through experience. Now, McDonald's has already implemented self-serve kiosks in many of their restaurants, which require fewer workers at the point of sale. Okay, so McDonald's is one of the fast food restaurants that's really leading the charge, leading the way with this. And this also comes into the conversation of the whole fight for 15. Okay, so periodically we'll see people walking off the job from fast food jobs, and they're protesting because they want $15 an hour. They want a livable wage. That's understandable. But what is quickly happening, there are a few dynamics here that deal with this. Okay, how's everybody doing? Those tuning in. Okay, we've got RM, we've got Yvonne, Mama Zari, I think it is, Tamara, John. How's everybody doing? Okay. Also, if you'd like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on the yellow donate button right there on the home page. Okay, so a couple of things that come into play here with the fight for 15. You have an increasing amount of automation being implemented in a lot of these low-wage, low-skilled jobs. McDonald's is leading the charge on this. Two, what a lot of people I don't think are calculating or looking at is that what I think is going to happen with a lot of these jobs, and I'm somebody that used to manage a retail outlet. I used to manage a Radio Shack for 5 years. If you're telling me that I have to, instead of paying $8 or $10 or whatever it is, if you're telling me now it's mandated by law I have to pay $15 an hour, well, I'm going to fire some of the people I have who are substandard, and I'm going to go get somebody who's better quality, because now I can pay $15 an hour and I can get a better quality employee. I can get somebody who will show up on time. When they show up, their uniform is going to be clean and pressed. They're going to treat my customers with respect, things like this, right? So some of the people I have working for me, I'm not going to pay them $15 an hour. I'm going to fire them. I'm going to go get a better quality employee. So even though the livable wage, I agree with the livable wage, I think some people may not really understand like the full ramifications of this. Some people are going to be eliminated out of the labor market because of their attitudes, because of lack of customer service skills, etc. Unless they correct it. Secondly, what I think is going to happen, especially as fast food restaurants, especially led by McDonald's, implement more automation, is that I think what may happen is, now with McDonald's is interesting because if you go to McDonald's website and you look the information for McDonald's, and you look at the information dealing with who owns their restaurants, 89% of McDonald's restaurants are franchises. Okay, so they're owned by a franchisee. Okay, so it can be a husband and wife, and they own 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 McDonald's franchises. All right. So even though McDonald's is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, though 89% of their restaurants are not operated or quote-unquote owned by McDonald's, they're owned by franchisees. Okay. What I think is going to happen is that if you have 60 employees at say a McDonald's, I think they're going to lay off 30 and keep the other 30 and pay them $15 an hour and have them doing 2 jobs. I think that may end up like what happens, on top of automation being implemented as well. Okay, so we have to understand these different dynamics and understand how to protect ourselves against these, because these changes are coming. They're already here. We're going to see them even more. Also, we see more automation being used in hospitals. So in hospitals, they have like the robots that take the charts of medical records and things like this, take them around the hospital. We see the automation in factories. There was a story that 60 Minutes did back in about 2013, and this was a story dealing with automation changing. Here it is right here. They have it on their YouTube channel. Are robots hurting is this the one? Are robots hurting job growth? 60 Minutes. Okay, they took that down. Google that. Maybe, let me see. Because, let's look at this here. But it was on YouTube. Okay. Somebody put it on YouTube. I guess they were unauthorized. But the name of that segment, I think, was Are Robots Hurting Job Growth? It was a 15-minute segment, and I'm trying to look this up on YouTube, see if they have it on their YouTube channel. If 60 Minutes has it on their YouTube channel. Let's look at this here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it aired January 13th, 2013 on 60 Minutes. It's on another YouTube channel. It's called Are Robots Hurting Job Growth? I'm going to post a link here. I want you to watch this. This was 6 years ago. Technological advances, especially robotics, are revolutionizing the workplace, but not necessarily creating jobs. Okay? And what it's doing is eliminating jobs. And one of the things they showed in this plant here is they show robots taking equipment from one side of the plant to the other side of the plant. Now, previously, that would have been done by humans. They would have been driving a forklift or whatever vehicle it is to take material from one side of the plant to the other side of the plant. Here, they have a robot doing it. Okay, so that's on YouTube. Watch that. There was also an article from Huffington Post Black Voices, not from Huffington Post, not Huffington Post Black Voices, from about 2012. And this article dealt with how millions of middle-class jobs have been eliminated by automation, robots, robotics, software programs, okay? Let's see, open that one. I'm trying to bring that one up right now. We'll give you that link also. This is from January 23rd, 2013. So we've seen these trends coming, but oftentimes we're not dealing with how to protect ourselves from this and not really understanding the impact that this is going to have on African Americans. All right. Okay, let's continue. How you doing, Aisha? Okay, that's loading up. I'll give you the link to that article, but read that as well. So when we have presidential candidates, we have a presidential campaign season, and then also keep in mind that all 435 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives are up for re-election. Also, there's 23 seats in the U.S. Senate up for re-election. These are conversations that need to happen. And what is your plan to address these issues? Okay? All right, so let's continue here. So McDonald's recently acquired Print, an artificial intelligence company that focuses on speech to help automate the drive-through experience. McDonald's has already implemented self-serve kiosks in many of their restaurants, which require fewer workers at the point of sale. Now, the McKinsey company, which are the ones who put together this report, the McKinsey company report found that African American males will be most affected by automation. The McKinsey company report found that African American males will be the ones most affected by automation. African American men are overrepresented in high displacement job categories and also underrepresented in low displacement job categories. Okay, so we have high displacement job categories, all right, and we have low displacement job categories. Now, high displacement job categories have increased likelihood of being lost due to automation. So high displacement job categories are the ones that are most vulnerable to losing jobs to automation. In just a second here, let me, this browser's acting up here on the second laptop. I'm trying to monitor everything. Okay, so high displacement jobs have an increased likelihood of being lost due to automation. These types of jobs include food services, like McDonald's, food services, retail workers, office support, and factory workers. Now, the McKinsey report also found that African American males are less concentrated in parts of the country where economic growth is expected to be experienced over the next decade. So many African American males are living in the wrong states, living in the wrong cities also, all right? So this report found that African American males are less concentrated in parts of the country where economic growth is expected to be experienced over the next decade. Quote, African Americans are underrepresented in 5 out of the 6 projected fastest growing geographical archetypes and are overrepresented in 2 of the 6 slower growing archetypes, end quote, the report states. Now, the report also found that these effects of automation can be mitigated by African American males obtaining higher education. Okay, so the impact that automation, the negative impact that automation will have on African Americans, especially African American males, can be mitigated by acquiring higher education. All right, and let me try to post this link here. There we go. Okay, so that's the YouTube video from 60 Minutes. Once again, that's called Are Robots Hurting Job Growth? Are Robots Hurting Job Growth? That's from January 2013. And here is the article from Huffington Post. Okay, this article from Huffington Post is from 2013 also. And this deals with how millions of middle-class jobs have been eliminated because of automation. All right, now, the report found that these effects of automation can be mitigated by African American males obtaining higher education. The public and private sectors should pursue, quote, large-scale economic development strategies. Okay, large-scale economic development strategies to increase jobs and opportunities. All right, the public and private sector should, so when we talk about the public sector, we're talking about government. Okay, the public and private sector should pursue large-scale economic development strategies to increase jobs and opportunities. So that deals with funding for job retraining, for jobs in the fastest growing sectors and jobs that are going to be in demand for the next 10, 15 years. African American males are, quote, significantly underrepresented in the population that has a bachelor's or graduate degree. African American males are significantly underrepresented in the population that has a bachelor's or graduate degree. All right, let me see. Let's see if we can find the, is that article coming up here? Let me try to get the actual link for that. Millions of middle class jobs. That doesn't come up. I'll have to Google it for that exact link. All right, we'll try to Google this and get the, because they may have changed the actual address of that link on Huffington Post website, so I'll have to Google the name of it. Okay. All right, internet's trying to reconnect on the second laptop, so I'll let it do that. Okay, so if we look at, so this deals also with job retraining, increasing your educational level, etc., to insulate yourself from this onslaught coming from automation. All right, now let's look at, there were 2 articles that were cited in here. One is from BusinessInsider.com, The name of that article is Artificial Intelligence is Slated to Disrupt 4.5 Million Jobs. They have a very, very long article for African Americans, okay, who have a 10% greater likelihood of automation-based 10% greater likelihood of automation-based job loss than other workers. And let's post this here. Okay, let's try to bring this up. And I'm also going to post a link here to the original article from blackenterprise.com as well. Here we go. In the name of that article from Black Enterprise, once again, 4.5 million African Americans could lose their jobs to automation. All right, now, when we look at the article from BusinessInsider.com, so they talk about how African American workers are 10% higher risk to losing their jobs. Black men without a college degree are particularly vulnerable to job loss, while black women will fare better than even general white and Asian American populations. Black men without a college degree are particularly vulnerable to job loss, while African American women will fare better than even general white and Asian American populations. Okay, this deals with the level of educational attainment of African American women. Now, automation and artificial intelligence are coming for jobs, and African American workers are particularly at risk. Let's see here. I'm skipping over some of the stuff that's redundant. There's unrated risk to... Okay, so African American workers are at a greater risk for job loss due to being overrepresented in the jobs that will face the most job cuts. After artificial intelligence and automation take over, like office support, secretaries, fast food, and service workers, and mechanics and other practitioners of production work. About 34% to 36% of jobs in those three sectors will get disrupted, according to the report. About 34% to 36% of jobs in those three sectors will get disrupted. Now, the disproportionate impact of automation could exacerbate the already widening racial gap. So they're talking about the connection between the elimination of jobs by automation for African Americans and the racial wealth gap. The disproportionate impact of automation could exacerbate the already widening racial wealth gap. The wealth gap between the median African American and white families in the U.S. has jumped $54,000 since 1992. White Americans are disproportionately more. White Americans own disproportionately more homes and hold less student loan debt than African Americans. Factors that can be traced to historic redlining and discrimination in job hiring. So when we look at the fact that, based upon 2016 numbers, the median household net worth for a white family was $171,000 compared to $17,000 median household net worth for African American family. We know that African American women carry more student loan debt than anybody else in this country. Okay, now I'm not saying that the majority of the $1.6 trillion in student loan debt is carried by African American women. What I'm saying is that when they graduate from a four-year institution, African American women on average carry $30,400 compared to $22,000 for their white counterparts. There was an article from blackenterprise.com, August 5th, 2018. Black women have the highest amount of student loan debt. There have been other articles that talk about this as well. Let's see. In this article, updated research from the American Association of University Women indicates that women hold 2/3 or $890 billion of the country's $1.4 trillion student loan debt. Back at this time, $1.4 trillion, now it's $1.6 trillion. And African American women are graduating with at least $30,400 in debt compared with $22,000 for their white counterparts. Okay, so when we talk about the student loan debt, right? this helps to cripple a lot of people in general, but especially African Americans, because they're coming from largely households that have less wealth and less ability to, give them a good economic platform to spring from to start businesses, buy homes, etc. Okay, so so there was another article, and I'll probably do a separate broadcast on this. There was an article that came out. TheGrio.com had a good article from a couple of maybe about a month ago now, and this dealt with the crushing student loan debt that African Americans are suffering from. Let me see something here. I think I may find it because I just saw that article. Give me a minute because I've got a ton of articles, but I had it with me when I was in Oakland, California. But all of this ties together. So, and these are all issues of concern when it comes to elections as well. Let's see here. I'm not sure where that is. I saw it recently. Okay, I'll have to pull that up. Just a second here. All right. I'll try to pull that up on the computer because I just saw those two articles. Okay, but I just gave you this other one from Black Enterprise dealing with the study that black women have the highest student loan debt. And the Grio had one just from the last month or so. We'll try to pull that one up as well. This one from the Grio is called, this is from September 22nd, 2019. African American college loan debt at an all-time high. Experts give their advice on how to help black graduates reduce the burden of debt. African American college loan debt at an all-time high. Okay, read this article also. This is from the Grio.com, GRIO.com. Okay, so let's go back to the article from BusinessInsider.com. So African American workers are at a greater risk for job loss due to being overrepresented in the jobs that will face the most cuts after artificial intelligence and automation take over, like office support secretaries, fast food and service workers, and mechanics and other practitioners of production work. About 34 to 36% of jobs in those three sectors will get disrupted. Now, the disproportionate impact of automation could exacerbate the already widening racial gap. The wealth gap between the median black and white families in the U.S. has jumped $54,000 since 1992. White Americans own disproportionately more homes and hold less student loan debt than African Americans. Factors that can be traced to historic redlining and discrimination in job hiring. And we know that redlining was created in 1934, and that comes from the Homeowners Loan Corporation, which was created in 1933. These are all policies from the New Deal to fight against the Great Depression. And we know that redlining discriminated against African Americans in our community from purchasing, getting loans to purchase property, and also discriminated against us later after the Federal Housing Act in 1949, when you start having the suburbs being built. And the Federal Housing Act allowed white people to put 3% down on low interest loans to get houses built out in the newly formed suburbs. And when we try to take advantage of those loans, because there is a reallocation of taxpayer dollars, when we tried to take advantage of those loans, we were discriminated against. They used the redlining system against us. But also when we tried to buy homes and property in our own communities, we were discriminated against as well. We were told these were high-risk properties. Okay, so they use the redlining against us as well. Let's see, blackpast.org has an article dealing with redlining. I think blackden.com also had one as well, but blackpast.org has one called redlining. And redlining refers to a discriminatory pattern of disinvestment and obstructive lending practices that act as an impediment to home ownership among African Americans and other people of color. Banks use the concept to deny loans to homeowners and would-be homeowners who lived in these neighborhoods. This in turn resulted in neighborhood economic decline and the withholding of services or their provision at an exceptionally high cost. The origin of the term redlining stems from the policies developed by the Homeowners Loan Corporation, the HOLC, created in 1933 by the Franklin Roosevelt administration to reduce home foreclosures during the Great Depression, and then institutionalized by the 1937 U.S. Housing Act, which established the Federal Housing Association. Federal housing agencies including the HOLC and the FHA, Federal Housing. FHA would be the Federal Housing Administration, determined whether areas were deemed unfit for investments by banks, insurance companies, savings and loan associations, and other financial services companies. Okay, these areas were physically demarcated or marked, designated with red shading on a map. In contrast, zones which were to receive preferential lending status were marked in green shading and intermediate areas in blue shading. Often these decisions were arbitrarily based on the area's racial composition rather than income levels. While the practice was almost universal before 1968, the Civil Rights Act passed that year in 68. The Civil Rights Act passed that year theoretically outlawed redlining. So they're talking about the Fair Housing Act of 1968. Nonetheless, its impact was felt long after that date. Okay, so you can read the rest of this article here. This is from blackpast.org. This deals with the origins of redlining and understanding the impact of redlining. Okay, and this deals with federal policy. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. This is what politics is. So this all deals with government. This all deals with policies. This all deals with laws. This all deals with politics. And we also have to understand that policies and laws and regulation, government impacts business, impacts your business, impacts industries. Politics, laws create an environment that businesses operate within. There was an article from, let me see if I have it here, because I take these with me on the road when I'm speaking. There was an article dealing with how, so there was a study that came out in 2000, either 2018 or 2019, that dealt with how African American homes are valued at $156 billion less than white homes, and the impact that this has on African American wealth. And let me see if I can find that article here. If not, I'll have to post a link for it. Okay, let's see here. This deals with the loss of land. How's everybody doing? Just give me a minute here. So I'm going to give you this article. And I saw it recently. That doesn't go there. Hold on. Just a second. All right. Oh yeah, here it is right here. Homes owned by Black Americans are undervalued by billions of dollars. Now, Ali Velshi on MSNBC, on a segment of Velshi and Rule, Ali Velshi dealt with this. Okay, but if you just Google this, homes owned by Black Americans are undervalued by billions of dollars. And you can find that information, and they cite the study that was done. Actually, Andre Perry of the Brookings Institute was interviewed, and the Brookings Institute did this study, and they talk about the impact that redlining has. And one of the things that was discussed is African American neighborhoods are undervalued on average by $48,000. That is a loss of $156 billion in home value for African Americans, which ties into wealth. It ties into a reduction in wealth, okay, based upon the value or lack of value of our homes. So check that out. All right. How you doing, Ramsey, Eva? How's everybody doing? Okay. African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customer service at africanhistorynetwork.com. Current promotion, get 3 months for the price of one. We'll let you know how you can advertise with us. So we have a couple new advertisers. Also, if you are in the market to buy a car, you want to visit Car Marshall. Now, visit Car Marshall to purchase a new or used car. And I'm going to post a link here. Click on the link below. And Car Marshall will help you find and negotiate buying a new vehicle. They have over 100,000 new and used cars from dealers. And Car Marshall, you shop, they negotiate. Okay, they make it very easy for you. We'll post a link here for Car Marshall. You can use this website to find cars all across the country, and they connect you with African American dealerships, and they can also connect you with lending sources also. That's Car Marshall. All right, now a lot of people want to learn more about investing, and the Profit Room can help you with that. Now, you may have seen the article from blacknews.com entitled "The First Black-Owned Day Trading Company of Its Kind is Teaching Courses on How to Profit from the Stock Market." Now, the Profit Room is a stock market trading and education company. They have mentorship programs that are designed for beginners. They teach individuals how to create generational wealth through trading and investing in the financial markets. They can teach you about the stock market, options, futures, the foreign exchange market, or Forex. Their specialty is day trading, and one-on-one mentorship. Visit their website, theprofitroom.com. Theprofitroom.com. Let them know you found out about this from the African History Network. Theprofitroom.com. All right, so let's continue. The article from businessinsider.com, and then I'll go to this article from Fast Company, because these are two articles cited in the piece from Black Enterprise. Now, college education and gender will all impact how severely African Americans will face job loss, the McKinsey report finds. Okay, college education and gender will all impact how severely African Americans will face job loss. Now, while the general black population is 10% more at risk for job disruption, the number jumps to 30% for African American men without a college degree. While the general African American population is 10% more at risk for job disruption, that number jumps to 30% more at risk for African American men without a college degree. In fact, the researchers estimate that 28% of jobs held by African American men without a college degree will get disrupted by automation and artificial intelligence by the year 2030. Okay, so we're talking about basically 11 years from now. It's estimated that 28% of the jobs held by African American men without a college degree will be disrupted by automation and artificial intelligence by the year 2030. Now, while African American men face greater risk of job disruption from artificial intelligence, African American women face greater risk of African American women will see relatively fewer job losses. African American women might lose jobs at a lower rate, not only compared to African American men, but also when compared to white and Asian Americans of all genders. African American women are currently overrepresented in jobs that will see growth in the next decade, like nursing assistants and home health aides. Okay, so one of the things people can do is visit BLS.gov, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics is the governmental department that tracks and calculates the unemployment rates, things of this nature. But they also look at demands for certain types of skills, jobs in the future. They have what's called the Occupational Handbook. Okay, so when I used to be involved in recruiting students for a local community college here, and we were dealing with the No Worker Left Behind program initiated by Governor Granholm, Governor Jennifer Granholm here in Michigan some years ago. No Worker Left Behind was an effort to use state-funded dollars to pay for training, community college, trade school, to pay for training for Michiganders to be retrained in high skill, high growth, high demand professions, areas. They identified 50 different jobs in these growth sectors, and they allocated funding for this. Okay, this was called No Worker Left Behind in the state of Michigan. And I used to head up an initiative at a local community college dealing with this and recruiting students to take advantage of these funds to get enrolled in college and get retraining. And one of the sectors we were really focused on were people who were being downsized from the auto industry and making sure that they get retraining so they can gain employment, as opposed to taking the cash payout from, I think it was at the time, Ford. Yeah. Well, Ford was going through a round of buyouts also, but General Motors, Chrysler did this as well. And you had some African Americans who took the cash buyout, and in 6 months the money was gone. And they've worked for the plant 30, 35, 40 years, whatever it is. And they don't have a lot of marketable skills, and they went back and forth to the casino and blew all this money. Okay, so African American women are currently overrepresented in jobs that will see growth in the next decade, like nursing assistants and home health aides. However, African American and Hispanic women are still paid the least out of every racial gender pairing. So this ties in the Black Women's Equal Pay Day. So I just posted an article yesterday from blackenterprise.com. Black Enterprise has like some really, really good articles. I've been reading Black Enterprise since I was in college, reading Black Enterprise like over 25 years. Then it was the magazine, now it's online. But they still have the magazine. I think they have an app as well. But there was an article from Black Enterprise that dealt with how over the working lifetime of the average African American woman, they're looking at a 40-year span of time, she will lose close to, I think it was close to about $900,000 in lost earnings because of the pay gap, okay, because of the racial and gender wage gap. Okay, an African American woman will lose out on $946,120 over a 40-year career if she continues to make 61 cents on the dollar that every white male makes. So this ties all into Black Women's Equal Pay Day, which occurred in August of this year. I think it was August 22nd of 2019. And you've heard me talk about this before. And Black Women's Equal Pay Day for 2019 came 2 weeks after Black Women's Equal Pay Day in 2018. So now, when I was speaking in San Diego, California, at the Return of the Gods conference, or Return of the Gods event in August of 2018, in my presentation, this is something that I talked about. And a lot of African American women don't know about Black Women's Equal Pay Day. But this article came out October 17th, 2019 from Black Enterprise. Black women lose out over $1 million in their careers thanks to the wage gap. Black women lose out over $1 million in their careers thanks to the wage gap. So it talks about how the National Women's Law Center, in their analysis of this, they found that a black woman will lose out on $946,120 over a 40-year career if she continues to make 61 cents on the dollar that every white man earns due to the wage gap. Quote, assuming she and her white non-Hispanic male counterpart began work at age 20, an African-American woman would have to work until she is 86 years old to catch up to what a white non-Hispanic man has been paid by age 60, end quote, the press release states. So in 2018, it was 63 cents on the dollar. 2019 is 61 cents on the dollar. So on average, it takes the average African-American woman 20 months to make the same amount of money it takes the average white man to make in 12 months. Now, the National Women's Law Center found that African-American women face even larger pay disparity in certain states. In the state of Louisiana, African-American women are paid on average 47 cents for every dollar than their white non-Hispanic male counterparts make, which is the worst state for African-American women's wage equality. Now, Emily Martin, who's Vice President for Education and Workplace Justice, said, quote, there's a significant racial wealth gap in America, and African-American women's wage gap certainly plays a role in it. For many black women, the cost of the lifetime wage gap comes close to $1 million. And in some states, it's more than $1 million. It's time for the U.S. Senate to follow the lead of the House of Representatives and pass the Paycheck Fairness Act. The Paycheck Fairness Act. Women and their families literally cannot wait any longer. This all deals with politics. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. So 2020 election, you're going to have, I think it's about 23 seats up for re-election in the U.S. Senate. We know a term in the U.S. Senate, a full term is 6 years. You can't get this stuff passed in the Senate because of who? Senator Mitch McConnell, Moscow Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader of the U.S. Senate, Senator from Kentucky, and there have been somewhere around 350 bills that Democrats have passed in the House of Representatives since January 3rd, 2019, when they took over the U.S. House of Representatives that inaugurated the 116th Congress. And most of these bills are being blocked in the U.S. Senate by Senator Mitch McConnell, Moscow Mitch. So African Americans and others in Kentucky have to organize and vote him out of office because he's up for re-election in 2020. You can't get bills passed. See, people don't understand this. The Senate Majority Leader controls the U.S. Senate. No bill can come to the Senate floor for a debate without the Senate Majority Leader's approval. No bill can come up for vote in the U.S. Senate without the Senate Majority Leader's approval. The Senate Majority Leader controls the U.S. Senate. Moscow Mitch has got to go. He's up for re-election in 2020, and he has about a 37% approval rating in Kentucky because there's a whole lot of people in Kentucky of different races that can't stand him. But he has to be voted out of office. Just talking about him negatively on social media ain't going to get it done. And only people in Kentucky can vote him out of office. So even though he could be totally hated all across all 49 states, could just totally, vehemently despise him, the only people that can vote him out of office are those that live in the state of Kentucky. Now, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but I see where the majority of the obstruction comes from. I see the majority of the obstructionists are. I see where the overwhelming majority at the federal level, House of Representatives, U.S. Senate, and the White House, I see where the majority of the bad public policies are coming from, and they're coming from Republicans in general. So Democrats have to take back control of the U.S. Senate Otherwise, you can't get these bills from the House of Representatives passed in the U.S. Senate. But you got one little son of a Mitch that's blocking all this stuff. Go to govtrack.us. Gov.track.us. Govtrack.us. Okay? At govtrack.us, you can keep track of the bills that are being voted on in the Congress. Okay? And you can search for, so I have it already set up. Let's look at this here. Okay, so as of October 21st, 2019, I'm looking at bills that have passed the House. The 274 bills have passed the House of Representatives, and they're now in the U.S. Senate. 200. This is since January 3rd, 2019. Okay, because January 3rd, 2019 is when Democrats took control of the House of Representatives based upon the midterm election vote in November 2018. So as of October 21st, 2019, there are 274 bills that have passed the House of Representatives that are now in the Senate. Okay, and there are 77 bills that have passed the Senate that are going to the House of Representatives next for the House to vote on them. All right. But at govtrack.us, it gives you the name of the bill, who sponsored the bill. You can read about it. Okay. Govtrack.us is very powerful. Most of our people don't know anything about stuff like this. Okay. But I'm posting a link here. So check this out. And there have been probably about 350 bills in total that Democrats have passed in the House of Representatives just since January 3rd, 2019. Keep in mind, when they took control of the House of Representatives January 3rd, that was during Donald Trump's 35-day partial government shutdown. Keep that in mind as well. But if we look at the Paycheck Fairness Act, okay, and we'll post some information here. This is at congress.gov. Congress.gov. And let's see here. 116th Congress to amend the Fair Labor. Let me just get a brief description of this here. Hold on. Okay, yeah, Vox.com has an article about this from March 27, 2019. The House just passed a bill to close the gender pay gap. The House of Representatives just passed a bill to close the gender pay gap. It has an uphill battle in the Senate. This is from March 27, 2019. House Democrats easily passed the Paycheck Fairness Act on Wednesday, their latest in a long series of attempts to make sure women and men are paid equally. Now, when they talk about women, this doesn't just apply to white women. This applies to African American women as well. When it applies to African American women, this impacts positively African American families and positively impacts African American men also. The final vote was 242 to 187. Democrats were joined by 7 Republicans. I wonder why only 7 Republicans wanted a Paycheck Fairness Act. So a gender pay gap has long existed. Women who work full-time in the United States make on average 82 cents for every dollar that their male counterpart makes. And data from, they're just looking at women in general. And data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the gap has actually widened in the past 4 years. Okay, so what is the Paycheck Fairness Act? The Paycheck Fairness Act essentially works to close loopholes in the landmark Equal Pay Act of 1963, which required that men and women receive equal pay for equal work. All right, so the Paycheck Fairness Act that passed the House of Representatives in March of 2018 and is sitting there in the U.S. Senate being blocked by Moscow Mitch McConnell, okay, who is an accomplice to Donald John Trump, the first Russian president of the United States. This bill is just sitting there in the Senate. As Vox.com's Alexia Fernandez Campbell wrote, That bill did not exactly work as intended, the 1963 Equal Pay Act. Progress has been hampered in a number of ways. There are several reasons for the pay difference. Women are less likely to negotiate pay and more likely to be penalized when they try to negotiate pay. Women are also more likely to choose career fields that pay lower salaries and are often pushed out of the highest paying professions in the country, which reward workers who put in long hours, schedules that disproportionately hurt working mothers. But after taking education, occupation, and work hours into account, researchers say that discrimination could explain about 1/3 of the pay gap. A 2013 study by the American Association of University Women found that women get paid 6.6% less than men in their first jobs, even after considering factors such as job location, occupation, college major, and number of hours worked. Now, the Equal Pay Act says employers cannot differentiate salary based on gender unless a number of factors, including seniority, merit, and work level, come into play. On its face, it makes sense. A new entry-level employee would not be paid the same as a higher-level employee with more experience. But over the years, women found out they were making far less than male colleagues with the same experience and job titles. The most well-known example is Lily Ledbetter, Ledbetter, who sued her employer Goodyear Tire after finding out male managers with less experience were getting paid more money than she was as a female manager. Okay, this was a landmark case. Now, Lily Ledbetter's crusade resulted in the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, which President Barack Obama signed into law in 2009. That law changed the Civil Rights Act so that workers could sue for fair compensation up to 180 days after receiving a discriminatory paycheck from their employers, rather than when the salary decision was made. Okay, let's see here. There was a bill. There was an executive order that Trump did when he first became president that reversed an Obama era fair pay initiative. And what was that? Let me see here. Not that one. Trump pulls back. Let's see. Is this the one? Yeah, this one right here. NBCnews.com. Trump pulls back Obama era protections for women workers. Elections have consequences. April 2nd, 2017. NBCnews.com. Trump pulls back Obama era protections for women workers. This wasn't just for white women. This affects women, period. With little notice, Donald John Trump, the first Russian president of the United States, recently signed an executive order that advocates say rolls back hard-fought victories for women in the workplace. Now, this is from April 3rd, 2017. Tuesday's Equal Pay Day, which highlights the wage disparity between men and women, is the perfect time to draw more attention to the president's action, activists say. On March 27, 2017, Donald Trump revoked the 2014 Fair Pay and Safe Workplaces order that President Barack Obama put in place to ensure that companies with federal contracts comply with 14 labor and civil rights laws. Okay, this is what President Obama put in place, and Donald Trump, March 27, 2017, he only been in office 2 months, and he signs an executive order that reverses this. I wonder why. After Trump talked about how much he loved women and how he was going to protect the rights of women and all this stuff, right? Remember that? The Fair Pay Order was put in place after a 2010 Government Accountability Office investigation showed that companies with rampant violations were being awarded millions of dollars in federal contracts. Well, this is taxpayer dollars that pay these contracts. the companies that are discriminating against women when it comes to pay. And in an attempt to keep the worst violators from receiving taxpayer dollars, the Fair Pay Order included two rules that impacted women workers: paycheck transparency and a ban on forced arbitration clauses for sexual harassment, sexual assault, or discrimination claims. No wonder Trump is against this. He has, what, 21 accusers of sexual misconduct, sexual harassment? No wonder he's against this. In an attempt to keep the worst violators from receiving taxpayer dollars, the Fair Pay Order included two rules that impacted women workers: paycheck transparency and a ban on forced arbitration clauses for sexual harassment, sexual assault, or discrimination claims. Now, okay, so you can read the rest of this article here, all right? This is from NBCnews.com. Trump pulls back Obama-era protections for women workers. I thought he talked about how much he loved women and he cherished women. You remember that? On the campaign trail, he cherished women. And he's going to protect the rights of women, all this stuff. What happened? What happened to that? We just posted a link here. Read that article in its entirety. This is an example. This is what I was trying to explain to people in 2016. Negroes ain't want to listen. This is an example of how elections have consequences. Also, this is an example of how a policy can impact you, but it don't have to say black or African American, because this policy impacts all women. It impacts it negatively. Trump reversing this, President Obama putting this in place, benefits African American women also, but it doesn't have to say black or African American. See, we don't study policies and understanding how they impact us. All right, so read that. Let's go back to this other article and I have to get out of here. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your Facebook page and on YouTube, and invite your friends to tune in also. But go to BLS.gov. BLS.gov is the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. Search for the Occupational Handbook at BLS.gov. So when I was talking to parents, when I was doing recruiting, and I would talk to parents about careers for their children to get into, I would tell them to go look at the Occupational Handbook at BLS.gov, because it shows you the demand for a particular field of study or a particular career for the next 10, 15 years. It shows you the type of earning potential that that career would yield. And it talks about the type of jobs that are available in different careers and the type of education and the credentials that you need to have that particular job, okay? So that's called the Occupational Handbook. That's at BLS.gov, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. All right, let's continue here. Let's go back. Okay, so we were looking at the article from BusinessInsider.com. I think this last one was. Yeah, BusinessInsider.com. So African American women are currently overrepresented in jobs that will see growth in the next decade, like nursing assistants and home health aides. However, African American and Hispanic women are still paid the least out of every racial gender parent. So this is one of the reasons why also the fight for 15, even though maybe it's on a lower scale, the fight for 15 or something like that, raising the federal minimum wage, okay, that would disproportionately positively impact African Americans, men and women, okay, because of the racial pay gap, the disparity in the racial pay gap. Now, in this study, Wright said understanding the unique ways automation will impact different racial gender groups will allow for better understanding of which policies to advocate for. Understanding the unique ways automation will impact different racial gender groups will allow for better understanding of which policies to advocate for. Once again, talking about policies, that deals with understanding how politics impacts every aspect of our life. When we talk about putting together an African American agenda, and I'll be in Washington, D.C. with Michi X and Jade Arundel and Dr. Shauna and Q Butter and others Friday, October 25th, Saturday, October 26th, visit theblack-agenda-movement.com, theblack-agenda-movement.com, because the weekend of November 9th, we will be in Houston, Texas. I do a presentation on this tour called 6 Principles of Political Self-Defense, Understanding How Laws and Policies Impact the Economic Conditions of African Americans. So to put together an African American agenda, we have to understand, one, where we are today and how policies are impacting us and how policies help create the conditions that we're fighting against. Two, understand that history of how we got to that predicament. Three, understand policies that we're advocating for and how they would impact our conditions to get us out of the predicament. Yes, economic empowerment has its place. I'm all for that. Economic empowerment has its place. But the solution to bad public policies is not economic empowerment. Solution to bad public policies is to fire the elected officials that wrote the bad public policies and put elected officials in office that will write better public policies that impact your condition. Economic empowerment is part of that. And we have to understand that businesses operate in an environment that's regulated and impacted by government. So you have to understand how all that is, the relationship between all of that. Okay, so I'm all for economic empowerment. My degrees in business administration, taught entrepreneurship for 7 years, help people get funding, help people start businesses, things like this, manage African American owned businesses where we had majority African American employees, we had county contracts, we had state contracts, and we're employing our own people. I'm all for that. But I also understand how government impacted our business. We had government contracts. That's a reallocation of taxpayer dollars. Okay, so I understand this I ain't talking about what I read in the book. I'm talking about what I've actually done. All right, now, quote, there's a real benefit to the evolution of economy. There's a real benefit to the evolution the economy is going through. Being smart, especially as a person of color, on the unique risk to you is helpful. Being smart, especially as a person of color, on the unique risk to you is helpful. Now, what's interesting is that Donald Trump Donald Trump wants to blame undocumented immigrants and target Hispanics, target Mexicans for taking Americans' jobs. Donald Trump don't talk about how, in general, he doesn't talk about how millions of middle-class jobs have been lost to automation, software programs, things like this. He wants to demonize undocumented immigrants while at the same time he takes advantage of their labor at his golf courses and resorts. See, he exploits their labor while at the same time demonizing them, and at the same time he brags about the lowest unemployment rate in the last 50 years, down about 3.7%. And at the same time you have about, according to the last unemployment report, you had about 7.2 million unfilled jobs in this country. Each month, there are more and more unfilled jobs in this country. And that trend started under President Obama, because going back to about April of, I think it was like 2015, there were about 5.6 million unfilled jobs in this country. So this trend continued. So you can, on the one hand, demonize undocumented immigrants and say they're taking your jobs. And then on the other hand, you got a record number of unfilled jobs almost every month, and you have a record low unemployment rate. You can't have it both ways. But this is what he tries to do. And he doesn't want to talk about how automation, software programs, things like this have eliminated millions of middle-class jobs. One of the companies that produces a lot of these robotics is General Electric. But I don't hear Trump talking about that. I can't figure out why. If we go look at the Carrier plant in Indiana back during the 2016 election, and Trump got the then governor of Indiana, Mike Pence, who became his vice president, he worked out a deal. The Carrier plant was going to close and leave Indiana. What they did was they gave tax breaks on the backs of taxpayers to the Carrier plant in Indiana so they wouldn't close and lay off people, right? And then what they did was they implemented more automation in that Carrier plant, which eliminated people's jobs, eliminated some of their jobs. So if we look at, I want to try to find that exact article from Huffington Post. Okay, I guess maybe they took that article down, but they had an article. You could try to search for this yourself. This was millions of middle-class jobs killed by machines. in the U.S. Let me see something here. Let's try to find this, because they had that article at Huffington Post. But look at this trend, and the scapegoat. And to show you how this is a scapegoat, the scapegoat is to demonize undocumented immigrants. But at the same time, you don't go after the corporations that hire them and exploit their labor. That's how you know it's a red herring. Trump will demonize undocumented immigrants and say they're taking your jobs. But he doesn't talk about increased accountability for the corporations and the white people that hire them and hire undocumented immigrants. That's how you know it's a joke. He's one of those people. Okay? So that's all the distraction. But this, once again, what this deals with really is the year 2043 and the fear of the browning of America, and the fear that by 2043 white people will no longer be the majority population in this country. Because they're not targeting white undocumented immigrants. They're not at the Canadian border focusing on white undocumented immigrants. In fact, about 60% of undocumented immigrants who come to this country, they don't come here illegally. They come here legally and overstay their visas. If you look at the article from NPR.org, there's a lot of research on this to show, even coming from the U.S. government, to show how Trump is framing this conversation. He's lying. Okay? A lot of people don't know that in 2017, so he took the oath of office that he violates on a daily basis, by the way. But he took the oath of office January 20th, 2017. 2017, undocumented border crossings at the southern border were at a 40-year low. It wasn't a crisis. It was at a 40-year low. All right? Read the article from NPR.org, National Public Radio. Where does illegal immigration mostly occur? Here's what the data tells us. Not what Trump tells us. Here's what the data tells us. This is January 10th, 2019. Where does illegal immigration mostly occur? And they talk about how when it comes to people in the country without proper documentation, the majority of them don't cross the Mexican border at all. Most of them come to the United States legally, but they don't leave. Well, that sounds different than what Trump is talking about. You think, are you saying Trump is lying to us? No, I don't think. About 700,000 travelers to the United States overstayed their visas in fiscal year 2017, the most recent year for which the Department of Homeland Security has published figures. Department of Homeland Security estimated that as of September 30th, 2017, the end of the fiscal year, because we know the fiscal year begins October 1st, so the fiscal year just started October 1st, 2019. The budget approved by Congress, submitted by the White House to Congress, approved by Congress. The federal budget just kicked in. It's about $4.9 trillion. Department of Homeland Security estimated as of September 30th, 2017, the end of that fiscal year, more than 600,000 of those travelers were still in the U.S. About 700,000 travelers to the United States overstayed their visas in fiscal year 2017. Department of Homeland Security estimated as of September 30th, 2017, the end of that fiscal year, that more than 600,000 of those travelers were still in the U.S. They came here legally, overstayed their visas. Now they're here undocumented or quote-unquote illegally. They ain't run across the border illegally, the southern border illegally, but this is what Trump would have you believe. During that same year, there were just 300,000 apprehensions along the southern border, according to the Customs and Border Patrol, CBP, the lowest number since 1971. When you look at the government's own data, illegal border crossings at the southern border were at a 40-year low in 2017. But what happened was Trump's rhetoric caused an influx because people coming from other countries did not know if or when he was going to have restrictions, shut down the borders, etc. So that this causes an influx. One. Two, when we look at aid to Guatemala, because a lot of them are coming from Guatemala and coming through Mexico. Not all of them, because we see an increasing number of migrants coming from Angola and the Congo, and they're coming through Mexico. President Obama increased the amount of aid to Guatemala to help keep those migrants there in Guatemala because of the economic conditions, and you give more aid that helps to alleviate the economic conditions, and it causes more of them to stay there. What did Trump's dumbass do? He took away those funds, which exacerbated the economic conditions in Guatemala, which caused more of them to migrate here to the U.S. because they want to go work for Trump, because he said he was going to make America great again. They want to go work for Trump at his resorts and golf courses, things like this. That exacerbates the economic conditions there in Guatemala. 3, the study came out from, what NBC News reported this, and it was a study that came out recently. And it talked about how climate change, and I'm going to pull this up here. It talked about how climate change in especially Guatemala has negatively impacted the environment. And what this did was this increased the demand for them to leave the country. Okay, so there, let's see here. NBC News, they have the video from NBCnews.com, and there's an article I'm going to try to pull up. How climate change is impacting immigration from Central America. A House report, House of Representatives, outlined how climate change is increasing migration from Central America countries to the U.S., yet Donald Trump cut aid to countries including Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. NBC News' Jacob Soboroff reports from Guatemala on how climate change is contributing to extreme poverty and hunger in these countries. It's dumbass. So what this does is this causes more of them to migrate through Mexico trying to come here. Dumbass. But then follow the money. Check this out. Follow the money, right? Core Civic. So when we look at things like the migrant detention centers, and we hear about them being ran by privatized prison companies, okay? Who's getting a lot of these contracts? Core Civic and Geo Group. You ever heard of Core Civic and Geo Group? You probably have, because they were big Donald Trump campaign supporters. How do we know? Let's see, Wall Street Journal, July 2nd, 2018. Trump's immigrant detention plans benefit private prison operators. You mean, hold on, you mean they're making money off of housing migrants? He removed funding from El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, which causes more of them to come here. And Core Civic and Geo Group, which are the largest owner-operators of privatized prisons in the country, they donated almost $600,000 to Donald Trump's presidential campaign in 2016. They were losing money under President Obama because the U.S. prison population dropped to its lowest point in 20 years in December 2015 under President Obama, when it dropped from a peak of 2.3 million down to 1.53 million. Not my numbers, that's coming from the Department of Justice, their year-end report from December 2016. August of 2016, President Obama announced that the federal government was not going to renew privatized prison contracts for federal prisoners. The day that was August of 2016, the day that announcement was made, the stock price of Core Civic and Geo Group, they lost money that day. Donald Trump becomes elected through the Electoral College, that we don't understand how it works. He reverses his policy from President Obama. When that announcement is made, the stock price of Core Civic and Geo Group go through the roof. Stock price of Geo Group went up 98%. Stock price of Core Civic went up 146%. Wall Street Journal. These are white people telling you this. Trump's immigrant detention plans benefit private prison operators. Core Civic, Geo Group both Trump campaign contributors have become more reliant on ICE revenue in recent years. Follow the money. Tennessee-based Core Civic Inc. These are publicly traded companies, by the way, on the stock exchange. If I remember correctly, Core Civic, they're on the New York Stock Exchange. I'll give you their stock exchange symbol, because I've gone and researched them years ago. They used to be called Corrections Corporation of America. Now they're called Core Civic. I think it's either CXW or CW. I always forget which one it is. But you can pull it up. Core Civic, CXW. I had it right the first time. CXW, Core Civic, formerly Corrections Corporation of America, is a company that owns and manages private prisons and detention centers and operates others on a concession basis. So they are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay, and when you pull this up, you can look at this. So their stock price closed today. Let me see here. Their stock price looks like their stock price closed at maybe about $15 today. But just Google, just search for Core Civic. Let me see. Let's pull this up here. Looking at the market summary on the New York Stock Exchange. All right, we'll post this link here also for you. All right. Tennessee-based Core Civic Inc. and Florida-based Geo Group had already been helped by higher federal spending on immigration and customs enforcement, ICE. Now, the Trump administration is seeking $2.8 billion in the 2019 budget year to increase the number of beds in immigration detention centers. Okay. Shares in both companies rose last month. So this came out in July, so we're talking about June. Shares in both companies rose in June of 2018 after ICE issued a notice that it may seek 15,000 new beds for families. Okay, so read this article. Then there was an article from the New York Times, June 21st, 2018. The billion-dollar business of operating shelters for migrant children. Hold on, wait a second. You mean they're making money off of this? New York Times, June 21st, 2018. The billion-dollar business of operating shelters for migrant children. The business of housing, transporting, and watching over migrant children detained along the southwest border is not a multi-million-dollar business. It's a billion-dollar business. The nonprofit Southwest Key Programs has won at least $955 million in federal contracts since 2015 to run shelters and provide other services to immigrant children in federal custody. Its shelter for migrant boys at a former Walmart supercenter in South Texas has been the focus of nationwide scrutiny. But Southwest Key is but one player in the lucrative, secretive world of the migrant shelter business. About a dozen contractors operate more than 30 facilities in Texas alone, with numerous others contracted for about 100 shelters in 16 other states. Read this full article. This is just the first two paragraphs. Okay? Read this full article. Then you got one from October 25th, 2017. With business booming under Trump, private prison giant leaders gathered at president's resort. Wait a second. October 25th, 2017. In recent years, the private prison company Geo Group has held its annual leadership conference at venues near its Boca Raton headquarters. But this year, the company moved its gathering to a Miami area golf resort owned by Donald Trump. Well, hold on. They're getting contracts from the federal government to house migrants, and Geo Group donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. I wonder how much they're going to donate to 2020. And they held their national conference at a Miami area golf resort owned by Donald Trump. The event last week, now this was October 25th, 2017, this article came out from the Washington Post. The event last week, during which executives and wardens gathered for 4 days of meetings, dinner receptions, and golf outings at the luxurious 800-acre Trump National Doral. Isn't that where he was going to have the G7 meeting? Until Senate Republicans revolted on his ass? Doral. That's where Geo Group, one of the largest owner-operators of privatized prisons in the country, that's where they held their national conference in 2017, owned by Trump. Follow the money. Trump National Doral, 800-acre. Followed an intense effort by Geo Group to align itself with the president and his administration. During the 2016 election, a company subsidiary gave $225,000 to a pro-Trump super PAC. Geo Group gave an additional $250,000 to Donald Trump's inaugural committee. It also hired an outside lobbyist, a major Trump fundraiser, and 2 former aides to Attorney General Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III, one of the president's most prominent campaign backers. Geo Group, meanwhile, has had newfound success in Trump's Washington. The company secured the administration's first contract for an immigration detention center, a deal worth tens of millions of dollars. There was no crisis at the southern border in 2017 till Donald Trump created one. Follow the money. And its stock price has tripled since hitting a low last year when the Obama administration sought to phase out the use of private prisons, a decision that Jeff Sessions reversed. I've been trying to tell you, motherfuckers don't want to listen. I told y'all since 2016. I told you about Trump. This dude is dirty. As dirty as they come. People don't want to listen. Follow the money. This ain't me saying it. This is white people telling you this. Washington Post. Go read this article. This is from October 25th, 2017. With business booming under Trump, private prison giants leaders gather at president's resort. This is 2 years ago. This is October 25th. This is almost exactly 2 years ago, and they were talking about Doral. And now this fraud, this con man, wanted to have the G7 meeting at his Doral resort. Come on, man. This is why his ass has to be voted. If he doesn't resign from office, which now, if you go back and listen to me back in January 2017, I told people in January 2017, I was on Cliff Russell's show, and Cliff Russell, passed away. But I was on Cliff Russell. Cliff was a friend of mine, we were on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF together. Cliff passed away of a heart attack. It was his 5th heart attack. I told people in January 2017 on his show and on my show, I said Donald Trump is going to be impeached, and Donald Trump is going to be forced to resign from office, just as Richard Nixon was forced to resign from office August 8, 1974. I told people, and look at what's happening. Won't he do it? Look at what's happening. I told people what's going to happen. All you have to do is go study Watergate. I studied Watergate, so I saw what was going to happen. It's just going to take some time, okay? And back in January 2017, Republicans controlled the House of Representatives, U.S. Senate, and the White House. I didn't know that Democrats were going to take back control of the House of Representatives in November 2018. I didn't know that back in January of 2017. I told people what was going to happen. All right, so let's see. I think we have one last article. Let's see. Where are we here? All right. Okay, how you doing, Danita? Let me give you some of these articles. Go research this. Now, when we come to your city, who's on here from Washington, D.C., okay, visit the blackagendamovement.com, thebblackagendamovement.com, because we'll be in Washington, D.C., October 25th and 26th. I know October 25th, we're at Everlasting Life, Dr. Baruch's restaurant. That's 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's for the community activist portion, community organizing portion. And then on hold on, I printed it up actually, so why am I looking at my phone? got it on my phone, but I printed it up. Saturday, October 26th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We are at Roots School, 15 Kennedy Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. Okay, so I think there's some tickets still available. Visit, and I know they made some tickets free, but visit the blackagendamovement.com, theblack-agendamovement.com for more information. Sister Janae Cook will be there also. Jade Arendelle, they're both speaking. Q Butter, Dr. Shauna Etienne, hosted by Danette Hollowell, and we know, of course, it's featuring Michi X. And I'm on the tour also. I'll be speaking. I'll be on the panel discussion. Then that Sunday, I have to rent a car and drive to Richmond, Virginia, Sunday, because I'm going to the Pan-African Festival that Brother Lee Robinson is organizing. And let me see, I had that flyer here. Where is that? Here we go. The Richmond, Virginia Pan-African Festival, Pan-African International Festival of Culture and Unity. Okay, so this is taking place Sunday, October 27, 2019, 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. outside at Afri Congo, 3302 Williamsburg Road, Richmond, Virginia. 3302 Williamsburg Road, Richmond, Virginia. Zip code is 23231. And the festival will be podcasted and streamed online worldwide. They're going to have a number of speakers. This year's theme is "We are one people, one struggle, and one destiny. Africa must be free." They're dealing with 400 years later, 1619 to 2019. We are Africans. We love our home, Mother Africa. I'll be speaking. I'll have a vendor table there. I'll be speaking there also. Don't know what time yet. We'll get this flyer on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Now, they have vendor space available. You can call area code 804-549-7492. 804-549-7492 if you want to be a vendor. You can email them at African Awareness. What is this? Okay. I'll post the email address here. I want to make sure it's spelled correctly. Let's see. And this is organized by the African American Awareness Association, Inc. African American Awareness Association, Inc. If you want to give a donation, because they have a lot of expenses to pull this off, you can send donations through Cash App, by phone through Cash App. Okay, but they don't have the information. Okay, we'll get the information for Cash. Okay, this, hold on. By phone through Cash App. What is this? I guess just send it to 804-319-9289. 804-319-9289. I'll get a clarification on all that also. All right, but we'll get this at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll have that information up today at our website. Okay. Then November 9th, November 8th and 9th, I'm in Texas, Houston, Texas, with the Black Agenda Tour. Also visit blackagendamovement.com, blackagendamovement.com. And I think they have a way through the website. If you want the tour to come to your city, I think you can contact them through the website as well. Also, if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization. Okay. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. That helps us to keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, helps cover expenses. When I have to travel out of state, like this weekend, things like that, I have to rent a car to drive to another event, etc. Okay, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, let's look at this last article, then I have to get out of here. Okay, this is from FastCompany.com. There were two articles cited in the piece from Black Enterprise, the original piece we started out talking about. Okay, but this stuff dealing with Trump is deep, and this deals with understanding how politics impacts every aspect of our lives. This deals with the flow of money, all of this stuff, right? African American men will suffer the most as automation destroys jobs once held by humans. African American men will suffer the most as automation destroys jobs held by humans. Okay, and let's see here. So this is from fastcompany.com. Fast Company is a entrepreneurship small business magazine. So an alarming new report from McKinsey and Company called The Future of Black Work in America highlights the challenges American workers will face during the next decade as automation continues to take away blue-collar jobs. But while the negative effects of automation are expected to hit all demographics, Black American males are the group that will be most affected. Okay, and I'm going to lay out three things here because a lot of this article is redundant, but I'm going to lay out three main points that they lay out here. Okay, so there are three main reasons McKinsey and Company found that African American males will be worse affected by automation. One, African American males are overrepresented in the high displacement job categories. And let's go back to this article. African American males are overrepresented in the high displacement job categories. High displacement jobs are the jobs most likely to be lost due to automation. Jobs in this category include office support, like secretaries and data entry personnel, food services, including fast food workers, production workers, production workers, which include machinists and other factory workers, and retail workers. Two, African American males are also underrepresented in low displacement job categories, so the job categories most protected. Low displacement job categories are jobs which are expected to feel the impact of automation the least. These jobs include creative jobs, health professionals, teachers, businesses, and legal jobs, and property and agriculture jobs. Okay, so these are low displacement job categories. African American males are underrepresented in these job categories. Three, African American males are also less concentrated in the areas of the country that are expected to experience the most economic growth over the next decade. In contrast, they are more concentrated in areas of the country that can expect the least economic growth over the next 10 years, as the report states, quote, African Americans are underrepresented in 5 out of the 6 projected fastest growing geographical archetypes and overrepresented in 2 of the 6 slower growing archetypes. Okay, so then they go on to say African American females are expected to better weather the automation storm. However, that's mainly thanks to the fact that many of the careers well represented by African American women, including home health aides, nursing assistants, and personal care aides, are expected to see more demand over the next decade. As for how automation's effect on African American men can be mitigated, McKinsey and Company says public and private sector institutions should pursue, quote, large-scale economic development strategies, end quote, to increase jobs and opportunities, supporting attainment of higher education for African Americans, which McKinsey and Company says are, quote, significantly underrepresented in the population that has a bachelor's or graduate degree, end quote, and enabling occupation switching and reskilling, as many of the men most likely to be affected already have the skills to work in other fields that are less likely to be impacted by automation. So this is the article from fastcompany.com. All right, so when we talk about putting together an African American agenda, now this is something that all of our organizations, national, local, this is something that we really need to be focusing on, because this will have if we don't prepare for this and prepare to alleviate the effects of this, if 4.5 million African Americans, majority of them African American men, lose jobs, that's going to have a devastating impact on the conditions in our communities, on our families, etc. So this is coming. So if it happens, we can't say we didn't know about it, because this stuff is being published. This is coming. So we have to prepare for this and fight for it and fight against this. Okay. All right. So if you want to advertise with the African History Network, email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customer service at africanhistorynetwork.com. We have some new advertisers. Car Marshall. Visit, if you are looking to get a new or used car, visit Car Marshall. We'll post a link here. And you can, this is a service that's online. Car Marshall will help you find and negotiate buying a new vehicle. They have over 100,000 new and used vehicles from dealers. With Car Marshall, you shop, they negotiate. Okay. And then also, we all use toothbrushes. Okay, or at least I hope we do. Now, millions of plastic toothbrushes are discarded every year. Not good news for the environment, however. Now, the toothbrushes they have at oratrue.com, which were developed by an African-American dentist, okay, Dr. James Ligon, Ligon. The toothbrushes at oratrue.com are designed to reduce that waste with a biodegradable bamboo handle and medium bristles that will not hurt your gums. Bamboo itself is a fast-growing grass, so stocks are swiftly replenished. Okay, visit oratrue.com for more information and to order your bamboo toothbrush today, as well as other products that they have at oratrue.com. That's oratrue.com. Okay, oratrue.com. oratrue.com. Now, you know, many parents have to deal with raising a child that has a disability, okay? And Jacqueline Levy is just like you. Does your child's school, family and friends, or your community ever make you feel like you are not a good parent? You oftentimes feel misjudged, shunned, and scrutinized, which sometimes leads to guilt and shame for having a disabled child, leaving you to feel as if you're the only parent in the world living with what you're dealing with. Now, Jacqueline Levy is your parent advocate. She's an African-American female parent who has raised a child with schizophrenia. A few short years ago, Jacqueline Levy was battling with her child's school and healthcare system, just like you may be right now. She would love to share some of her coping and survival skills with you that have helped to save her sanity while on her journey of raising and educating her disabled child. Now, she has a free webinar that's coming up on Thursday, October 29th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to post a link here, and it'll be in the description also. Visit Jacqueline, the number 2 cent, CENT, okay? Jacqueline 2 cent clickfunnels.com for more information. Jacqueline, the number 2 cent, clickfunnels.com for more information and to register. And we'll post a link here as well, okay? All right, let's see. Let's look at some of your comments here. All right, who do we have here? Okay, Maria. How you doing, Maria? Let's try to look at some of your comments. Okay. Black people are survivors. We always find a way. People copy and capitalize off our ideas and innovations. Yeah, but we have to be, we weren't put on this earth to survive. We were put on this earth to thrive and prosper. There's a difference between just surviving day to day and thriving and prospering. So we have to focus on thriving and prospering as opposed to just surviving. Okay, Dina said, coming back with bid to clean it. He's messing up the room and coming back with a bid to clean it. Okay, you're talking about Trump? Yeah, Trump is actually like an arsonist who calls the fire department to put out the fire that he started and wants credit for calling the fire department. Well, you're the one that started the fire. Frank said, where I work, we have robots that have replaced accountants. Wow. Where, if you don't mind me asking, Frank, where is that, or what type of industry are you in? Malik said, no matter what educational pursuit you pursue, unless we go from being a community of consumers to those of entrepreneurs, we will always be behind the 8 ball. Right. Well, but there are some professions and industries that are more insulated from the automation, things like this. This is why BLS.gov is so important. Okay, how you doing, Eva? Mamorazi, repeat it again. What is it that you want me to repeat again, Mamorazi? The links to some of these articles I'm going to post here for you also. This one right here was Trump pulls back Obama-era protections for women workers. This is from NBCnews.com. This is from 2017. A lot of people still don't know this. Let's see. We have Hidden Colors 5 available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. For each copy of Hidden Colors 5 you order, you'll get 3 of my digital downloads free, 3 of my presentations in digital download format free. Then also you can register for the online course that I teach on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. This is the Year of Return edition. And when we deal with the transatlantic slave trade, we have to understand it chronologically. So we deal with thousands of years of history. We deal with ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet. We deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, that take the teachings from ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt into Europe and bring Europe out of the Dark Ages. And we deal with how this leads to the transatlantic slave trade happening, starting with the Portuguese in 1441. We deal with Christopher Columbus and in Columbus' 4 voyages, starting August 3rd, 1492, when he set sail on the Nina, the Pinta, and Santa Maria. And we know that a lot of people now are celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day. Some cities recognize both. Some cities replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. So you may have seen the broadcast that I did on October 4th, 2019, in downtown Detroit in front of City Hall, because that is where a Indigenous Peoples Day celebration took place, and I just missed it. They gave out the wrong time on the news. But I dealt with a lot of this history, so check that out. We have it on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, I-M-H-O-T-E-P, Michael Imhotep on YouTube. Our latest bundle pack, 6 DVD bundle, is the Black Migration 1619 to 2019 6 DVD bundle. This includes 6 of my presentations from this year. And it includes Black Migration 1619 to 2019, from the birth of a nation to the Red Summer 1919 to the Detroit Race Riot of 1943. Okay, so that's a 6 DVD bundle pack. It's on sale $50. Includes 6 of my presentations from 2019. And Black Migrations is also this year's annual theme for African American History Month. So there's an annual theme each year for Black History Month, African American History Month. This year's theme is Black Migrations. The theme comes from ASALH, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, which is the association that Dr. Carter G. Woodson co-founded September 9, 1915. And the annual theme is to give purpose and direction, and to give some type of framework for the African American History Month celebrations that take place in February, and also what we should really be studying during that period of time. But also this is a theme to be studied for the entire year, not just for the month of February. All right, so I encourage people to visit asala.org. Asala.org, that's the official website for the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, which started out as the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History in 1915. We know 1915 is at the beginning of the Great Migration. And that's something that I deal with in that presentation, dealing with Black migrations. I just spoke at Hartford Memorial Baptist Church Friday and Saturday. Let's see, Friday, what was that, October 18th, Sunday, October 19th. Hartford Memorial Baptist Church here in Detroit. And they gave me this plaque for my participation in their social justice ministry. They do a social justice ministry each year, and I usually speak there. So I was on that panel discussion on Friday, and they showed the movie Brother Future that came out in 1991. It's about an African-American teenager, male teenager from Detroit, portrayed by the actor Phil Lewis, who takes for granted the education that he's being given. And he is told to, there's a project in school he's supposed to deal with history, understanding slavery. And he takes for granted being able to read, being able to write, things like this. And he has a dream. He's crossing the street, gets hit by a car, is knocked unconscious. And he has a dream that he is in South Carolina in 1822, and a slave in South Carolina in 1822. Well, if you know anything about South Carolina in 1822, that's the time of the Denmark-Vesey conspiracy. Okay? And the conspiracy was thwarted. So he gets transported back during this time, and he's a slave on the plantation in South Carolina. But they also deal with the plotting of the Denmark-Vesey conspiracy. And this was going to be the largest slave rebellion in the U.S., but it was thwarted by a slave that told his master. Okay? And then, so the movie is on YouTube. It's called Brother Future. It's actually a brother from Detroit, who he portrayed. Phil Lewis, the actor Phil Lewis, portrays a brother from Detroit. And when he wakes up from this dream, he understands the importance of education, being able to read and write, and the importance of studying our history. And he understands we're not going to be able to prosper in the future until we understand where we come from. He doesn't take that for granted anymore. All right? So they showed this movie, a good portion of it, and we had a discussion with the children and their parents, and then the next day they had workshops. I did a workshop dealing with Black migration 1619 to 2019. All right. So if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, and we'll make it happen. I know Kwanzaa's coming up, Dr. King Day, January African American History Month, February Women's History Month, in March, April anniversary assassination of Dr. King. June is Juneteenth. May is May 19th birthday of Malcolm X. July, the 4th of July. Also in June. August is the anniversary of the Haitian Revolution and the Nat Turner Rebellion. October is October. You have Indigenous Peoples Day, also Halloween, as well, All Hallows Eve. November is Misgiving Day or Thanksgiving. Black Friday is in November also. So for Black Friday events where you're going to have African marketplaces, we need to do a pre-Black Friday event the first weekend of November and get the black people before they take their money and spend it with white-owned businesses. So you can do one the day after Thanksgiving, but they're coming to spend their money with us after they go to Best Buy and Target. They've been standing out in the line 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, or they went on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, after Thanksgiving dinner, because a lot of these stores are open. So when we have like a Black Friday bazaar, Black Friday marketplace, we need to do one the first weekend of November when our people get paid, and have them come to us before they go to the malls and the big box retailers and things like this, and before they jump on Amazon and spend their money. Because it's all right, it's okay to have the Black Friday bazaars on Black Friday, but they're coming to us after they've been to the shopping mall, okay, and after they've been on Amazon for 2 or 3 hours. I'm just telling you. All right, I've seen it happen. Okay. All right, and then December is Kwanzaa, Christmas. So I have presentations dealing with the origins of Christmas and the African roots of Kwanzaa, all of that. Okay. All right, Malik. Had to help. Okay, what did I miss? All right, you can go back and watch it. We dealt with a lot of information. You can go back and rewatch it. All right, so look, hey, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So remember, when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Remember, right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.